Welcome to my AC 2-litre restoration. For this video I'm covering the wood trim, which on the AC is solid walnut. This is a lot easier to deal with than wood veneer and is more akin to furniture restoring. There are so many approaches to doing this that I would also recommend viewing some woodworking videos. I'll also take a brief look at the dials and gauges since the dashboard forms part of the wood trim. I had revarnished this wood back in the 1980s with a clear varnish. This time I wanted to dye the wood a red mahogany colour. This is similar to the original colour, which had faded to a more golden hue. I have admired other classics with this colour, such as Jay Leno's Jensen CV8, which has a really beautiful dashboard. I usually use Rustin's products, although there is no sponsorship here. I had planned to use grain filler to get a glass smooth finish. Unfortunately, the mahogany tinted filler dried pink, which is not the colour I want in my grain. I abandoned that plan as the walnut's grain is not all that open anyway. First stage is removing the old varnish. If it's gone glass hard, you might need to use a stripper. I managed with a brace of paper, starting with 80 grit to break through the surface, avoiding putting too many scratches into the wood. Then a 180 grit to remove the rest of the varnish plus any scratches, followed up with 280 and 400 grit. Some areas had dark water stains. Most of this sanded off. There is a way to remove the stains completely, involving acid and requiring breathing apparatus. I didn't fancy that and decided to leave some of the stains as part of the car's history. That's a good excuse for anything not fully restored. With all the scratches removed, I applied a red mahogany dye. Rustin say you only need one coat, but I found that 2 coats applied on successive days gives a more even colour. By the way, the brush is an Avenue branded item. It's my favourite brand as they clean easily and stay like new. When applying dye to the dashboard, I did all 3 parts together to try and match the colour. I've seen ACs with slightly mismatched colours. When the dye is dry, you can apply 2 or 3 coats of varnish, leaving each coat to dry for 2 days, or maybe more, before lightly sanding with 800 grit. I use the same brushing technique as for coach painting the bodywork. I brush in various directions and progressively brush more gently to lay off the brush marks. It has to be done fairly quickly before the varnish starts to gel, otherwise you'll add marks. One has to avoid runs and sags on surfaces that are not horizontal by making sure varnish goes on not too thickly and keeping an eye out for runs. Yet if it's applied too thinly, it won't level out for that glossy finish. For the dashboard parts, I stood them upright so the top surfaces were level, as these will reflect the windscreen and any blemishes will be noticeable. The next challenge is to find a room that is reasonably free of dust and to make sure nobody enters the room until the varnish dries. I'm not aiming for a pebble bleach concours perfection, as I have a long list of other tasks on the car, but I might revisit the wood trim in the future. Stripping the dashboard down brings us to deal with the dials and gauges. Removing most of them is easy, with the large dials clamped on with 2 studs and nuts. The problem came with the ignition lamp. It is held on with a flat steel clip retained by a cup washer, which in turn is held by a spring. There's no way to release it without damaging the cup washer, which fortunately is of aluminium. I stopped videoing while I vandalised the washer and indulged in a language known to veterans of restoration, such as, "Good heavens, isn't that annoying?" Imagine trying to remove in situ in the car. I dealt with the speedo before I bought my camcorder, so here are some snapshots. I checked the speedo back in the 1980s at a steady 50 miles per hour when it read 60 miles per hour. I will have to check it again at various speeds before I can calibrate it properly, so for now I've moved the pointer down by 5 miles per hour. If the pointer's return spring has weakened, it is possible to alter the sensitivity of the speedo, although there is no adjustment built in. You have to increase the distance between the spinning magnet and the drag cup by adding shims under the frame joints. A tiny adjustment makes a big difference. However, if you're not confident tinkering with such delicate instruments, it might be wise to get it done professionally. Just find a specialist with good customer recommendations. Here is the temperature gauge face, which had faded away. I'm in the process of engraving the markings and digits so that when I repaint it black I can still make out where the figures are, after which I painted them all by hand with white paint. Of course you could also use transfers as used by railway modellers and model aircraft, assume you can get the correct font. But as I'm an artist I thought I'd have a go at doing it by hand. I painted the brass bezels using black etch primer and then coach paint. I bought O-rings for the gauges. I had also painted and handwritten the light switch. With the electric clock removed, I reattached the trip meter control. It originally had a pin to secure it, but a piece of bent wire is easier to fit and remove. I had got the clock working back in the 1980s. These failed on a lot of British cars, yet it was easy to repair. The escapement has a fine piece of wire that makes contact with a brush. The wire had eroded, so I tinned it with electrical solder. put the lamps back in to keep the dust out. Not concours, but I'm happy and ready to move on to the next task. Upcoming projects include seat belts, flock spraying and electroplating. Thanks for watching.